the littlest chef.
Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Welcome to The Littlest Chef. My name is Natalie, and in today's episode, we are meal prepping. It is Sunday. It's the end of the day Sunday. I basically have 3 hours before I knock out for the week. And so let's see if we can actually cook all this food and prepare all this stuff within 3 hours. In terms of our main dishes for tonight, we're gonna make a nice, delicious soup because it's cold outside. We live in New York. And so it is a winter time. And so I'm gonna make a delicious squash soup, which is a quick and dirty version of soup joumou. For those of you who know, it's a traditional Haitian soup. We're gonna do a quick and dirty version, which is a vegan version, no meat. So in this pan, we have kabocha squash and butternut squash. And what we're gonna do is puree this inside of our blender, okay? So what I like to do is I like to go in with a spoon, and you're just gonna remove the outer layer of the squash from this part right here. And you want to get as much of the squash in here as possible, but you don't want to include any of the green part in your soup, okay? So here, all right, let's go in. All right, can you guys see that? So I'm just carefully going underneath the squash and just like that. All right. The butternut squash I had already peeled, so that can just go in the blender. All right, here's another piece of kabocha squash. Just gonna go underneath like that. And when you're picking out kabocha squash, you want to make sure that it looks as orange as possible. Sometimes the squash looks a little bit more orange instead of, looks a little bit more yellow instead of orange. And you want to really make sure you get that orange squash, because the orange squash is going to give you that really good, nice, sweet flavor because it's very ripe. The other one, if you see the squash is a little bit more on the yellow side, it's not as ripe, so it's not going to taste as good, okay? So always pick orange squash. And butternut squash always, you know, it always looks orange, so there's never any issues with butternut squash. All right, so that's all that can fit in this blender. What we're gonna do is take some of the liquid that we had already boiled our squash in, and that's what we're gonna use to blend this squash mixture here. And let's just, oh my goodness. Just add some of that water, the starchy water. All right. Okay, we're gonna blend that up. All right. And then we're gonna take this and pour it into another bowl. All right, great. So now we're gonna just do this again. Gonna take your regular squash. Okay, we're gonna go in with some of that liquid again. All right, then we're blending. Okay guys, so here are our ingredients for the vegan squash soup. So here we have blended squash, we have some olive oil, 4 tablespoons of butter, sea salt, black pepper, some plantains that I cut up already. We also have some onions and garlic. We have thyme, carrots, celery. We have cabbage. And then we also have this, I'm not sure what this thing is called, this leaf, but it's basically a leaf that tastes like cilantro. And Haitian people use it a lot when we make our soups, our soup joumou. It's basically like a leaf that has, I don't know if you can see those little razor edges here. And it's basically a leaf that tastes like cilantro. So if you can't find this at your local supermarket, you could just use a few sprigs of cilantro. This is our big soup pot right here. And to this pot, we're gonna add our 4 tablespoons of butter. We're also gonna add about maybe 1 tablespoon of oil. Okay. To this, we're gonna add our chopped onions and garlic. Then we're gonna take a spoon and mix it around. Our heat is on high because I want this to cook fast. It is already like 9 o'clock and I'm ready to be done with this meal prep. All right. So we're gonna fry up our onions and garlic first on high heat. But you wanna be careful and make sure that your garlic doesn't burn. So this should take about 3 minutes or so. So right now, guys, the onions and garlic has been sauteing for a little bit. You can start to see the garlic start to get a little brown. So it's at this point that you can start adding the rest of your ingredients, okay? You don't want your garlic to burn. All right, so I'm gonna lower my stove a little bit. Uh-oh, you see the garlic is trying to burn on me. Okay. So we're gonna go in with our squash. Okay. And this is very thick, so you're definitely gonna also add in some water. And you can turn the heat back up on high. We're gonna add some water. Okay. All right, so we're gonna mix this up a little bit. Okay. And then the next thing you're gonna wanna do is add some thyme. You're gonna go in with your carrots. Basically all the veggies that take a little while to cook, you're gonna go and add those first. You can also add in whatever this is called, the brother of cilantro. I'll cut it up into 2 pieces, dump that in there like that. We're gonna add in our plantain. Here we have just 2 plantains. And then we're gonna add our celery. We also have cabbage in here, guys, but we're gonna save that for last because cabbage cooks very easily, okay? All right. So Also, we're gonna take some salt. This recipe is very, very simple, guys. Let's take some salt. And we're gonna go in with a little bit of fresh black pepper. Not too much because that black pepper is strong sometimes. And you're gonna just mix it up just like this. Oh my gosh, guys, I totally forgot to buy a Scotch bonnet pepper, but no worries. Usually I would just put a little Scotch bonnet pepper in here and let it boil, but I wouldn't break up the Scotch bonnet pepper because you don't want it to get too spicy. You just want it to get a little bit of the essence of the pepper. But we have some épices here. If you don't know how to make the épices, go to my first video. I'll show you how to make some épices. And we're gonna add a little bit of that to this right here. And this already has some Scotch bonnet pepper in it. So it should add a little bit of spice. Okay. Let's add a little bit in here like that. All right. And basically what you're gonna do is cover this thing and let it boil for like an hour. If you notice that it's getting like extremely thick, you would wanna go in and add a little bit more water, but this consistency looks good to me. If you want it more watery, then you can definitely go in and add some more water. Okay, so we're literally gonna let that sit on medium heat with the lid on. And we're gonna let this do its thing for about 1 hour. All right, guys, so our squash soup has been cooking for about 15 minutes. And you really wanna be careful with this soup because every so often, the starches, like the plantain, likes to get stuck on the bottom. So every so often, just make sure you're checking in with that soup, and if anything gets stuck at the bottom, you want to just release that. Okay. All right, but it's looking good. Let's take a look at the soup, the squash soup, to see how it looks. This has been cooking for about 45 minutes. It looks pretty good. Everything has been cooked. And at this point, this is the point where you're gonna wanna do a little taste test to see if you need to add more salt, if you need to add more spice. And it's also at this point where we're gonna go in with the remaining veggies. We have some cabbage here, and cabbage doesn't take long to cook at all. So in the last 10 minutes of cooking the squash soup, you're gonna wanna add in your cabbage, okay? And then you're gonna mix it around. My soup looks a little thick. I would add a little bit more water to that. So we're gonna add a little bit more water. Okay, and we're just gonna put the fire up to medium-high heat. Make sure nothing is stuck on the bottom. All right, and then we're gonna cover that up for another 10 minutes. Over here we have our squash soup.